Alright guys, it's time for our first ever Sasuke review on this channel. This time we're reviewing Sasuke 38, the newest tournament. I know it's not that new anymore because it literally aired last year. It aired on December 29th of 2020. And I'm sorry for the wait, but the stream is just so early that I couldn't catch the live stream, unfortunately. But I watched it now and I have a lot to say about it. So let's get into it. For anyone that doesn't know, Sasuke is just a Japanese version of, it's the original version of Ninja Warrior. It's been going on much longer than American Ninja Warrior has, actually. And it's different, but it's a good show. I can't say which is my favorite at this point, really, because I have so much that I like about each one, and they're kind of distinct, and different, but I like them both. Yeah, and it's not anime, because whenever I say I watch Sasuke, people think I'm watching some Pokemon thing, but no, it's just a Ninja Warrior thing. That's basically all I watch and all I review. But so let's start with the obstacles, because there's only one new obstacle to this tournament, and two obstacles that were new last time, but we didn't get to see in function. So yeah, so we have three new obstacles only, but I've never done a Sasuke review, so this will be basically a new review. Alright, so these reviews are just based on my opinion for the obstacle itself, and not like what happened this tournament and who fell in it and stuff. So just so you know that. The first obstacle, as usual, was the quad steps leading into the rolling hill. The quad steps are kind of getting old. They've been there for a while now, and all step obstacles are kind of repetitive at this point. And yeah, these steps are especially like just mundane. Nothing special. We've seen them in America too, so they're getting old, and they're probably at the top of my list to replace. Hopefully after this tournament they will, because the win. That leads into the rolling hill, which is you have to transition right from the quad step to the rolling barrels and climb up the hill, and then slide down the barrels and jump off to the platform. I like this one. It's a combination of the barrel climb and rapid descent from the first few tournaments they had. So it's a good throwback, and it's an interesting obstacle. It's taking out some good people. You never know what to expect on it, so I like that obstacle. Hopefully they can get something different leading into it, but otherwise I'm fine with that section. That leads into the silk slider, which is the only new obstacle of the tournament, replacing not the TIE Fighter, the wing slider, which is a relatively new obstacle. So I kind of wish they'd replace something else instead. But they replaced it mainly because of the COVID measures they have to take. They have to clean everything every few runs, so they said it was easier to switch the current out than to clean the walls of the other thing, I guess. So that's why I made that change. Now, this obstacle was seen in America, in Vegas, for 2 years, but the challenge there was landing on this little inflatable mat in the water, which was really tough. This one is just a solid landing platform. Even has like a little curve on the front that helps people slow their momentum, so that makes it a much easier obstacle. But it's still good. I don't want it to be that as deadly as the American version, so I'm fine with how it went. Then we move on to the fishbone, which always made me think of like a wipeout obstacle, because you have to dodge the spinning bars as you cross like these podiums, and it's the extended version, which is basically a third longer than the original, and it has the bars that rotate in the opposite direction for the extended part, which I think is a good way of testing the competitor's timing, because they have to switch. They have to deal with the direction switch. And I like the obstacle overall. It's kind of a weird fit for Sasuke, but I think it works pretty good, especially on a time stage, because people are rushing through it, and that does lead to people making a lot of mistakes on it, and it's interesting. It has kind of a weird color scheme, because the first part is yellow, and the extension is like gray, gray foam. I don't know if they ran out of yellow foam or why it's different, but wait, so I got it the wrong way around. The first part is gray and the second part's yellow. But I don't know why it's different, but I'm fine with it. It kind of works for the stage, I think. Even though it seems like I wouldn't like that, I'm okay with it, so it's fine. There was an arbitrary thing here where people had to make it to where people had to walk on the last step or else they got eliminated, which I think is stupid, but especially because it took out someone who we'll get to later. But overall, I like the obstacle itself. So yeah. Um, then we move on to the dragon glider, which we've had in American Ninja Warrior 2. It's basically the double dipper, but I think it's slightly less. I think it's slightly shorter than double dipper, and also less angled maybe. But it's basically the same thing. It's, you have to you ride on the track, the shade to the second bar, and then dismount. I think, it's been there a few tournaments, but I like it. It's definitely a good focal point for the stage, I think. So I'm still good with it being there. I like it. And then that leads into the tackle, which is, I like the idea of having a strength drainer before the wall where you can't time out, but you can just get exhausted. So I do like the idea. I'm getting kind of bored of it. So hopefully after this victory, they'll redo the course a bit so like the steps and the tackle are replaced. But I could definitely be happy with another like obstacle like that to replace it, where it's not gonna eliminate you, but it's gonna slow you down and make you tired for the wall. I think that's a good concept. So yeah, I like the idea. It's just getting older, but overall it's fine. And then they end the first stage with a warped wall, which is really tough because their legs are drained from the tackle. Um, it's also weird because it's the last obstacle, just because the dragon glider takes up so much space now that they had to take out the lumberjack climb and Tarzan rope. But I think it also might be because it's kind of like how Ninja ends with the warped wall. American Ninja Warrior ends with the warped wall. I think it might be something to do with that. Because as we know, Sasuke and American Ninja Warrior have shared a lot of ideas recently with like different obstacles. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's also because of just, they both want to finish with the warped wall, like a universal end. Even though, of course, the stage 1 of American Ninja Warrior doesn't end with that, but the qualifiers does. But yeah, so the time limit for this stage is 90 seconds, which I kind of like. I like having a speed component to the first stage. And the time limit for the women and the people over 50 is 135 seconds, which I kind of think it should be just a universal time limit for everyone, but I understand the thinking behind it, I guess. But yeah, I prefer just having the same standards for everyone like A&W had up until they add the women's leaderboard. But that's just my opinion. And that's the end of stage 1. I think this calls for a Diet Coke break. Alright, now we're on to stage 2. It's 8 obstacles, 105 seconds. I said that the Silk Slider was the only new obstacle this time, which is kind of true, but also the rolling log is the first obstacle of this stage. And it was introduced last time, but they didn't get to use it because of the rain. It was too hard to use. So in a way, it's kind of a new obstacle too. So that was cool. Although it was used before in stage 1, but you know what I mean. Hopefully. And this version is kind of different though, because it's like the American version, I think, where it spins fast. It might not spin faster, but it at least looks more like the American version. And also it still gets stuck on the track a lot here. So people have to use their momentum to get it to keep rolling, which is weird, but I think it's fair enough, so I'm okay with it overall. And I like the ops. I think it did a lot for the stage because people are dizzy going into salmon ladder and stuff. And the second stage has been pretty repetitive for a while and pretty probably the easiest stage, I'd say. Maybe not, but definitely it felt like it wasn't enough. I think this new factor of dizziness and just an additional obstacle really helped. So then we move on to the salmon ladder Nabori, which is just going up the salmon ladder like usual. So that's fine. But you saw the effects of some people with the dizziness. And then you have to swing to another bar across from it and go down the salmon ladder, which is called the salmon ladder Kudarai. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but so you just gotta do the downward salmon ladder, which is pretty well known by now. But I think it's a cool move to have. I still like it. It's kind of awkward though because the mat is right in front of the ladder, so you can basically, theoretically you could dismount from the top. I mean, you'd be eliminated if you didn't go down the rungs, but I think it's kind of dumb looking that you can just, because I like an not having to have all those additional rules. So it's like you have to complete the obstacle to be able to make it to the platform. So it's kind of annoying that people can dismount right away if they wanted to, but it's fine. Overall, it's a good obstacle. The fourth obstacle was a spider walk, which is just like the walking through the jumping spider. We saw some people slipping on it this time, which was good. But overall, it's another older obstacle that got brought back, and I'm fine with it being there. Then, as you're finishing the spider walk, you gotta drop down. There's a gap in the wall, and you have to drop yourself down and avoid slipping as you get yourself down from there. And it's good. You have to control yourself a bit, and then you descend right to the platform. So I think that's a good section. It's not anything special anymore, but I'm fine with it. Then I was surprised to see that they kept the backstream, because this is you have to swim through the pool with the current pushing against you, and I really thought of all the things they get rid of with the concerns, they get rid of this one, but they didn't. So I guess they maybe just disinfect it, but yeah, I'm still surprised that they didn't replace it, but we know they love the backstream, so also it's not that surprising. Then we move on to the reverse conveyor, which is, it's another throwback obstacle. It's been there for a while, but it was originally there in the first tournaments. And basically you have to crawl under the tunnel, and as you're going, the ground is a conveyor belt that's pushing against you. So it's unlikely that people are going to fall off of this, but it's mainly just a challenge, because you're at the end and almost everyone's running low on time. So you got to push through it and give yourself enough time for the last obstacle, which is the wall lift. You got to lift the 3-way walls, and most people are really low on time here, so it's always has some good finishes, because you only have 105 seconds, and most people use most of that on the first obstacle, so it's a good setup, I think. Alright, so now we're moving on to stage 3, which starts with the flying bar, the 2-jump version instead of the 4-jump one that we see a lot in America. I like the obstacle, but I think at this point I'd like to see it at the end of the stage to replace the pipe slider, because the pipe slider is getting kind of easier at this point, and we've never seen anyone beat the 4-jump version in Japan. So I think that'd be a good way to change the ending after after this victory we had. So yeah, I like the obstacle, but just make it bigger, move it to the end of the stage, and that would be good. But right now the obstacle transitions right into the sidewinder, which is the second obstacle. I do like that transition because you have to swing to the pillar, but you have to be careful to not overswing and fall off the cradle. So I do like that, but if with my suggestion, we'd have to lose that move, but I would be okay with that. But you have to go to the pillar and you have to hop across 4 of them. Basically, you use the ledges on them to hang on and wrap around them, and you just have to transition from one to the next. It's kind of like a larger pole grasper, I guess, with wider poles, but that sort of thing. And the middle 2 pillars drop when you hit them, so you have to have good grip to not fall off them. I like the obstacle because there's a lot of really grip intensive stuff on the stage, but this is kind of more of an agility and full body obstacle, so it's a good way to mix it up, I think. Then we move on to the Planet Bridge, which is the third obstacle, and it's also a good one for mixing it up, because it's more of a core test. It's basically a tougher body prop, because you have the back wall, but the front wall, instead of having just a flat out wall, is 6 spears that you have to cross with your hands. So you put your hands on the spears and your feet on the wall, and you make your way across it. So that's why it's called Planet, because of circle things. And the back wall is moving back and forth, so you have to time it well, or else you're gonna have to stretch out farther. And not many people follow this, but I think it's a good way to exhaust yourself before the cliffhanger stuff if you're not careful. So I do like the idea of it. Then next up is the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger dimension is what they're calling it. Like the rolling log, they had this idea last time, but they didn't get to use it because they said the weather just didn't permit them to. I don't know if they thought it was hard enough already, or if they physically couldn't use the motors, the back and forth motors. But either way, yeah. So now the second ledge that they transition to bounces, and the last one that used to bounce, instead of going up and down, it goes back and forth. So it's even more timing because you have two moving ledges that you have to, you have to transition from the bouncing one to the sliding one simultaneously. So it's a lot of timing, which means you either have to get lucky, with your timing, or you have to hang for longer. So I think it's a good upgrade. I might have saved it until, next tournament after the victory, because they typically keep the same variation until someone beats the stage. But I'm overall okay with it, so I like that. Then that leads to, well, they have the resting bar between them, but the next obstacle would be the vertical limit, which is similar to the cliffhanger because, it's ledges that you hang from, but you're doing a backwards grip and crossing it, and not the upgrade version has 3 ledges. So it looks really hard to me. I can't do the vertical limit at all. I can do some of the cliffhanger stuff, but not the vertical limit. It looks really tough, but I like it, and I think America should finally adapt it to their course because we haven't had it since they introduced it in Japan, and I think it's one of the best obstacles that America's overlooked. So they should really add it to our course, I think. Then you have to pull yourself up to the resting bar, which, by the way, looks tough because you're at the end of all this grip stuff and you have to get yourself up to that green bar. I think even that would be really challenging after all the ledge stuff you do. But anyway, the last obstacle after the rest bar is the pipe slider, which right now I love the pipe slider, but I think it's too easy. At least because we only really see one person attempt it recently with Yusuke doing it, so it's not really, you don't really see it as a hard obstacle anymore, which is a shame. So I think they should either make the dismount bigger, like even more so, because I feel like it used to be bigger than it is now. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So I would either do that, or I would just, as I said earlier, replace it with a flying bar. But yeah, either way, I do like the obstacle. It's just not getting much of a spotlight right now, so it seems too easy, but it is what it is. And then the final stage is back to being filmed at the same time as the rest of the show, because obviously they didn't do a live audience this year, which I'm okay with, even though I hate this COVID changes and all that. I'm fine with not having the live final, because part of the thing for me is that the show's all filmed on the same time, so having that live thing kind of mess it up. So yeah, I'm fine with having it all on the same day again. And the final stage is, as always, it's the spider climb, which is a good start, I think, and America could take notes on how to change the stage with the spider climb. That leads into the salmon ladder, which is also a good evolution. At first, when they had the salmon ladder, like 4 years ago when they introduced it, I thought it was just crazy to have there and like overkill. But after seeing Yusuke do it, I think it's definitely adequate for that spot. And it's challenging, but I think it's an appropriate obstacle to have there. And it really tests your ability to go up there quickly. And a lot of competitors are pretty fast on the salmon ladder, so I'm not saying it's too, it's definitely not too hard. It's just a really good challenge. And that's fine for the final stage. It's supposed to be tough, so I like it. And that leads into the rope climb, which is probably the simplest part, but it's also, I'm sure, really draining at the end of the whole thing. And people, you have to rush up it if you get to there. So I like that. It's always the ending, and I'm fine with that because it's a really good obstacle. Yeah, I like that. I like the final stage. All right, so now we can finally move on to the results and the competitors themselves and how they did. So let's go through that. I wrote them down as I was watching it, so I'm gonna go through the numbers sequentially. So they skipped number 1, which I always think is strange because I know the number 1 is just some random person, not like an important competitor, but it always seems weird to leave that out to me. But I don't mind that much. It's just interesting. So the first competitor we saw was number 2, who was the weightlifter Torisawa. He did his usual thing with the barbell, and he did his usual thing of falling on early on the course. He failed to jump to the rolling hills, so that was typical for him. Then we went through a couple, like a montage where we saw the silk slide for the first time, which I thought was weird to get our first look at that during a montage. But again, it's just it doesn't matter that much. It's just interesting choices in editing. Then we saw someone failed a dragon glider. So I know these are kind of vague descriptions of the runs, but these are just names I don't really know. So yeah, we saw someone fail a dragon glider, and then they transitioned into a montage of other people failing the glider. No, wait, there was other people doing the glider in the past tournaments. My bad. Then we saw number 12. He barely made it through the silk slider. He almost flipped off the edge, but he made it through. Then he took his mask off, which I think is stupid to run in a mask, honestly. Because first of all, you're so far away from everyone else, and second of all, like, it has a lot more risk to it than any benefits. Maybe he just forgot to take it off, but it was funny, but it's like weird to run a mask. But anyway, then he failed the dragon glider. So we had a lot of dragon glider fails at the start, but that's typical. There weren't a lot of like really early on fails. They just like in the middle of the stage there was a bunch of fails on those obstacles. Then we moved on to 13. There's lots of time wasting, I thought, especially like before a silk slider he couldn't get the curtain off the holder. So it was funny, but he was just like struggling to unhook it. So he also failed the dragon glider, but he was running out of time during it. There was no way he was gonna make it through. He had like the countdown was going, so he was way off time anyway. Hopefully in future tournaments he learns, but then we had a pretty early success from Sakawa Koji. He looked good from the start. He pretty much just went through the whole thing smooth, and he cleared it. Now another like editing comment, I guess, is that mid-run they showed like they had a commercial break, which I get having a break, before an exciting run or before something important, but during a run I always think they could hold off on that. I think advertising is different in Japan maybe and how they do that, but to me it's like it's annoying. But again, it's like it doesn't detract from too much because you see the whole run, you just get kind of split up. So it is what it is. So he got to be the first to attempt stage 2 and the first ever on the rolling log in stage 2. So that's kind of cool. He had a good looking run up until the spider drop, where he just he was slipping on the spider walk part, but then when he got to spider drop, he completely missed the transfer and he fell in, which is kind of weird how a spider drop fail, but it happens. Maybe he was still dizzy from the log out, but yeah, anyway, he was eliminated there. I guess I'm gonna do these unilaterally through all the stages, so yeah, I decided to do it that way. So now we're back to stage 1. We had a video of number 16 training in his yard. He had a fishbone and dragon glider model set up, and the number of fishbone replicas I see is surprising because it's like a motorized obstacle. So yeah, it's cool to see all those being built. I guess it's impressive. But unfortunately, he went over the trampoline of the dragon glider. Like he was running out of time. He just dove onto the trampoline and just tumbled off the edge. It was funny, but he didn't get to really put his dragon glider replica training into practice. But it was a good run and had a good ending for the audience, not for him. Then we saw a montage where we saw a few silk slider fails, which were the first of those that we saw. I don't know if there was some earlier on that just got cut, but yeah, it wasn't until the late 20s that we saw some fails on that. Then we saw a lady running. I think, she was the first to fail the fishbone of the day, which is also kind of late because that's not an easy obstacle. But then we saw number 36, who unfortunately rebuilt the wing slider, which is the obstacle that got removed because of COVID. So that sucks for him, but he made it through that spot, only to time out on the warped wall. He just he looked exhausted when he got there, and he didn't have enough time to really collect himself before he attempted it. So unfortunately, it ended there for him. Then we had a fail montage. I saw there's some good falls on that. They had one that one guy who did a good backflip too. So he's going out in style, I guess, if he has to go out at all. So that was good, kind of. So after that, we kind of had a streak of success because we had number 40 clear, who was Kojihara Hayate, who I honestly don't remember that name, but he did well. He looked pretty good throughout the course. I was from the start. I had a feeling like this is gonna go well, and it did. Then he moved on to stage two, and he unfortunately had one of those frustrating fails at the very end. He timed out on the last wall of the wall lift, which are those are always good endings. I mean, like exciting endings, but it must suck, you know. But he'll come back next time. He looked good, so I think he can recover from that. Then we had two Black Tigers go consecutively, who were Yamamoto Yoshiyuki and Isa Yoshinori. We only saw the full run of Yamamoto, and we saw just like a clip of Isa's run, but they both cleared it. And the one that we did see looked pretty good throughout, so that was promising. And then we saw before his stage two run, we saw Yoshiyuki training on the salmon ladder, but he only had two rungs, so it was impressive. It was just, up and down. So yeah, that's a way to make use of a limited training space, I guess. That was good to see. And then we saw him clear it pretty easily. He looked good throughout, and he moved on to stage three. But then stage three was when I was like really impressed by Yoshiyuki, because he didn't clear it, but he was the first to ever take on the cliffhanger dimension, and he made it through both transitions, which I really thought I mean, I knew Yusuke won the whole thing, so I knew someone made it. But looking at that transition from the bouncing ledge to the moving back and forth ledge, I really thought no one would be able to make that. And seeing him make it, seeing the first person to attempt it make it through that, was really impressive. Unfortunately, he lost his grip at the very end before he could make it to resting bar, which really sucks. But that's a really good moment, and I think he'll get a higher number next time for that. Because I think that's the second farthest run of the tournament. I could be wrong, but I think that's true. So that's pretty cool. Especially for such a low number. Okay, now we're back to number 50. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. So 50 was Yoshinori. He also was skipped mostly in stage 2, but he cleared with 4 seconds. I thought he'd make it looking at what they showed us, but it was still exciting. Like, definitely wasn't as certain, so that was good. Then he fell, the bar fell off the cradles when he was trying to transition to the Sidewinder. So that's what I mean about that being a good transition, because you have to get to the pillar, but you can't, if you swing too hard, you're going to fall off the cradle. So I like that part. And it's unfortunate to end that way, but I think he'll come back strong next time. Number 51 was apparently a lady that fell early. I don't really remember, but that's what I wrote, so... And I wrote weird sideline commentary lady. This is why I have to do the review sooner, because I forget what I wrote. Oh, that was, for the next 5 runs, there was this lady on the side, like, I don't know if it was like a coach or something, but she was like commentating behind the course. So I don't know what was up with that, but that's what that was. Okay. So number 51 and 52 both failed that same part, the leap on the rolling hill. The number 53 overshot the landing on the silk slider. It was a good flip into the water. Number 54 was like struggling to. I remember this part. He was struggling to climb up onto the rolling hill platform, and it was like a 10-second struggle, but he finally got up there. But he was going so slow because of that, and he timed out before the dragon glider. He kind of had a good turn of speed around the fishbone. Like, if he had been going that speed throughout, he could have cleared, but he just started out too weakly, so he's out. And number 55 failed early. I didn't write what obstacle, but I don't think it was that memorable. And after that, that sideline lady was gone, so I don't know what that was, but anyway. We had Hyoki, who had his kids cheering for him, and he cleared the course with 6 seconds left, so good for him. He's traditionally like the first person to run and clear, so it's interesting to see him in this different spot. But yeah, he did good here too, so that's good. And in stage 2, he kind of had a frustrating run, unfortunately, because he lost time like on the rolling log, he almost fell off it, but he got through. But then he had a big misstep starting the spider walk that cost him a few seconds. And then he went really slow on the reverse conveyor, and he timed out on the wall lift. I think he had one more wall to lift up, and he just looked really frustrated. He was lying on the ground, which is, a shame for him, but it's good to see that he cares, and I hope he'll be back strong next time. And he can definitely learn, because that time when it was tight, so he can definitely learn from this and improve next time, I think. Then the next competitor, he looked pretty good up until he just missed the jump to the Dragon Glider bar, and that was the first competitor we saw to fail that jump, just to jump up. Then we had someone who had he brought crabs, and he failed to dismount the rolling hill, so that was whatever. Then the next competitor, he just missed a step on the quad steps and fell off. I think that was the first quad step fail we had, so it's pretty impressive that it took that long. It took 60 competitors to get a fail there, but at the same time, they're not a very difficult obstacle on their own, so it's not too surprising. Then we had a montage of the next 5 competitors, 61 through 65. Just people following. There wasn't much. There was, no important names or anything. Then they skipped number 66. So I just noted that was like a big chunk of people to skip, because there were 6 runs that were pretty much looked over. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just interesting that they went from 60 to 67 without a full run. And especially so late in the numbers, like, if it's low, the first part of the show, it makes sense, but this is near the back half of the numbers, so it's interesting. Anyway, number 67 looked good until he unfortunately derailed on the Dragon Glider. He made the transition, and then he just fell off the rail, and I'm not sure if it's like completely bad luck, but I think a lot of it was just out of his control. So, that is what it is. He'll be back, I'm sure. Maybe. I don't know who he is, so maybe he won't be, but hopefully. Then we had Shinsuke Nagasaki, who was another one that failed the Dragon Glider. He just missed the transition to the second bar, and he was out there. Then we had Rio. Yeah, we're getting into the more recognizable people now. He cleared the first stage of 4 seconds, which was good to see because he's been pretty unreliable, so getting a buzzer is always good for that. And then what happened? He got stuck up on the rolling log, and he had to he got stuck on the rolling log, but he got going, but afterward he stumbled on the salmon ladder platform. He looked really exhausted and just dizzy. Not exhausted, dizzy. And he kept getting uneven on the salmon ladder 2 or 3 times, and he tried turning around, rotating his grip to the other way. But at that point, he was just out of energy, and honestly, he's probably also going to be out of time if he made it farther, but he failed the salmon ladder, so he was out there. Then number 72 was Hitoshi Kano, who unfortunately was skipped over and also unfortunately failed the Dragon Glider transition. So there was a lot of fails on the Dragon Glider this time. I think more people made it there, so seeing as it's a big step up compared to most of the obstacles before it, I think that's why it got a lot of people. But yeah, it was tough. Then we had someone fail the fishbone. They were running low on time and they just missed a step and they were out. That was number 73. Number 74, I actually liked how he did the fishbone because he went slowly through it, but he looked like he had a plan with that movement because he was dodging everything pretty well. And, it took time, but it paid off and he made it through. And then he barely made the transition on the Dragon Glider to the second bar, but he grabbed it and he made it, and he cleared the whole stage with just over a second. So he had some close calls, but he was able to make it in time, which is good. In stage 2, who was that? That was Sugeta Rine. This doesn't sound like a Japanese name. I didn't realize that. So in stage 2, he started out kind of shakily, but he also got caught up on the rolling log, like a lot of the people that I've talked about recently. He was able to make it through, but he got crooked on the salmon ladder and fell. So that's a common result of stage 2 this time, which I kind of like to see compared to all clears. Not, it sucks for the people, but it's good to see some difficulty on stage 2. Okay. So who was I don't know. Oh yeah, number 75 had a big jump on the quad steps and he fell off. It wasn't very memorable. Just failed there. Um, the oh yeah, number 77 was a lady who missed the jump to the rolling hill. Um, Number 78. It was this woman. I don't know her name, but she last time she cleared the dragon glider, and this time she almost did, but she failed to dismount. I don't think she mistimed it. I think she just lost her grip at the last second. So unfortunately, she couldn't repeat that success. And without Jessie Graff, I think that might have been it for the women. That might have been the last woman to run the course at this time. So that was a shame this time. No, number 80, who was I don't know who. Oh yeah, he got his feet on the platform at the end of the dragon glider, but he fell back and landed in the water. So that was a shame, but it was funny because he was so close, but he failed. Then we had Naraki Aruki, who cleared the stage. That we just saw a clip of it. We didn't see the whole run, but he cleared in over 5 seconds. So he also made it through. Now let's see what happened on the second stage for him. Oh yeah, so he had a lot of trouble getting momentum on the rolling log. I think more than some of the others, even if I remember that right. And so he was really low on time, even getting through that. And I guess he was so low that they figured it was obvious he wasn't going to clear, and they just cut to him on the conveyor where he timed out. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, there's a lot of people that got stuck up on the log, and I think it cost them. So maybe we'll see more rolling log replicas next time. I don't know. Oh yeah, the next three competitors were from a group called the Rampage. I think it's a band or something. I don't really know, and I don't really care because the first one just barely got into the first bar of the Dragon Glider and failed. Then they skipped number 84, but we saw he got knocked off at the fishbone, and number 85 failed the yeah, he didn't go far enough on the Dragon Glider transfer, and he fell there. So they weren't bad efforts, but none of them made it through the stage. So that is what it is. Oh yeah, then we saw a cool montage of all the All-Stars, which was it's good to see. I love the All-Stars, and Nagano's probably my favorite Sasuke competitor. So yeah, I love that montage. And I was so excited about Nagano and Yamada returning. That was good news. I was looking forward to it, and we finally got to see that. Anyway, we'll get to that. Number 86 was Shingo, who's been in every tournament, the only competitor with that title. He barely got through the fishbone because he got knocked at the end, but he was able to make it. And I was really hoping like we could see him clear the first stage and try the second stage, but it's been a while. But he failed the Dragon Glider transition. And I feel like if he made it through that, he had a chance because he had enough time. Like, I don't know how his warp wall skills are right now, but I think he had a shot. So I was gutted to see him fail the Dragon Glider because I thought he had a real chance with the first stage. Then after he went was Takeda, who oh yeah, he did the early dismount off the fishbone where he skipped a step, and I don't agree with this rule because I think it's just unnecessary. But they say you can't skip the last step on the fishbone, so jumping to the platform indirectly is illegal, and they eliminated him on that technicality. So that was an annoying thing to me, but I guess the rules are the rules. And I think I read that someone before him had the same result, someone that didn't get shown. But I think that's just a stupid rule, and especially when it hurts someone like this, you see it kind of like kills the excitement. So I think it's unnecessary, as I've said a lot already. Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, then we had the Snowman, who he cleared it pretty easily. It looked like at the end he was really excited and emotional, so that was good. You can tell he cares. I don't really know. I don't remember him from before. I'm guessing he's competed. But yeah, he looks solid. So I was excited to see how the rest of his run went. And then we saw that in stage 2, he had a really smooth rolling log attempt. Because all the ones before him were really sloppy for the most part. So it was good to see that. I don't know how much of that is their fault, but still, it's good to see that good result. But then he got crooked on the down stand ladder and failed to drop, which is a shame, but he had a good run, and I think he'll be back, so that was cool. So then we had this person from the ABCZ band. I don't know if it's like I don't know, some kind of band, but he failed the dragon glider. His foot kicked the second bar, but unfortunately his hands didn't touch it because he fell there, and that's a shame. But he, I think he's competed before, so he'll probably be back. Then we had Kyoto Yamamoto was number 90. He cleared the first stage. They skipped over him, and then he became the first person to actually fail the rolling log. It indirectly failed a lot of people, but he's the first and only so far to actually fail it in stage 2. So that's a shame. He spun off, and that was it for him. Then we had number 92 who slid down the rolling hill, but he couldn't dismount. Oh yeah, he was slow at dismounting, and then he timed out on the warped wall after one miss. He just wasted too much time early, and it cost him in the end. So that's a shame. Then we had Kenji Darvish compete, number 93. He was wearing like a large plexiglass face shield thing, which was kind of weird. I mean, like not when he's running, but during the other runs, which seems a bit extreme. But okay, he missed the Dragon Glider transfer, so he's yet another person to miss there, and it's a shame. But again, he's a celebrity that gets on the show a lot, so I'm sure he'll be back next time. Then we had John Sato, who he cleared the stage like pretty effortlessly, it looked like, and he cleared with 30.6 seconds, which is easily the best time of the tournament for stage 1. And then he cleared the second stage with like several seconds left on the clock, so it definitely wasn't as easy as the first stage for him, but he did make it. And in stage 3, he where are we at? Oh yeah, he really tried to time the cliffhanger out. Like on the starting platform, he was watching both the moving ledges to try to figure out when to go. But unfortunately, he ended up with like the worst possible timing, so that didn't work out for him this time. And he couldn't grab the sliding ledge, so that was it for him. Okay. Then we had number 96 was Tomohiro Kawaguchi, and he timed out on the warped wall, so it's a shame he's not doing as well as he used to, but he's also a lot older, so it's not too surprising either. Then we had number 97, who was Yamada. He's back from retirement for like the 8th or so time, but it was good to see him back, and he was going pretty slow. Like you could tell he wasn't, he knows he's not really gonna clear the first stage, like almost certainly. So he was just having fun with it and laughing. And he had a good backstep on the fishbone to dodge one of the poles, but he ended up just cannonballing on the Dragon Glider and missed the transition. So for him, that was actually a pretty good run. And he's still in good shape for an older person, but obviously he's not a real contender these days. And it's good to see him not taking it so hard as he used to, because he wasn't a good sport with that. So it's good to see now. And I do like him. He's a good competitor. Number 98 was Nagano. He made me nervous coming down the rolling hill because I thought he was gonna. It looked like he was going to slip down, but he stopped on the last barrel, and he got to the silk slide landing. He did great at avoiding the fishbone poles, but he also fell on the Dragon Glider. I kind of hate the Dragon Glider this time because it took out a lot of the people I wanted to see do well, but I have to. It's a good obstacle. I have to like it. Then we had Yuji as number 99, who he has a double victory. up until this point, he was the only one to have double victory, but not for long, as we're gonna see. He was he had like a very low grip on the silk slider, which is it's pretty smart because you're not in danger of dragging against the water from that high up, and being low allows you to like stop yourself earlier on the platform, so it's a good move to avoid like overshooting it. And he was like yelling as he did the tackle, which was interesting. I guess it must be pretty heavy, so I'm sure and he's tired, so yeah, but he made it through. He cleared the stage, and on stage 2, he what am I saying? Oh yeah, he had a really sad timeout at the last second. Like, it was close, but he couldn't hit the buzzer by like, yeah, he was so close. Yeah, it was really, he couldn't hit the buzzer, and he had like probably one more second and he would have made it. So that was really tough, especially since he's been doing well on the third stage again. So I wanted to see that, but unfortunately that's not happening this time. So it's a shame, but it is what it is. He has 2 victories. Has a good career already. Then we have our final competitor, Yusuke Morimoto. He was kind of making me nervous on the fishbone. I mean, he couldn't really make me nervous because I knew before watching this that he won, because I made the mistake of logging into Instagram and seeing that on my feed page. And he cleared with 8 seconds, so he was okay. That was nerve-wracking. And I think the tournament he came back after he won, he almost failed the end of the obstacle, so I'm always nervous with him on that. And then we saw him. He just looked solid on the second stage, looked good, and then he looked great on the third stage. He obviously became the first one to make it through the cliffhanger dimension ever, and then he made the vertical limit look effortless and the pipe slider look effortless. So it was really like him on stage 3 is really hard to, I don't know what they're gonna be able to do to like slow him down in future tournaments, but they have to prevent him from winning like 3, I think. 3 consecutive total victories. It'd be cool, but I think they're going to try everything they can to stop him. But I don't know how you do that without making the course like impossible for everyone else. So it's going to be interesting, because he just looks so great throughout the course. I don't know what they can do. And then we moved on to the final stage. It was pretty brief because we just had Yusuke competing. And I think first I think I remember this correctly, they gave a recap of his previous attempt where he timed out at the top of the rope. And then we got to see his next attempt. Honestly, I was kind of skipping through it at this point to get to the run because it was really late and I was ready to see the end. And he just looked like he really was untouchable this whole tournament, because he made up the whole thing, and with 2.5 seconds remaining, so he really just killed it this whole tournament. He got crooked once on the salmon ladder of the final stage, but he just kept powering up, and he could have afforded another mistake and still won. So he definitely, as I said before, it's going to be tough to stop him from winning again. And winning the show twice is like, it's crazy. And up until like about less than 10 years ago, no one had won the show twice. And now we have our second double win. You have Akiyama won Sasuke 4, Nagano won 17, Yuji won 24 and 27, and now we have Yusuke in 31 and 38. I think it's been a good stretch. It's been 5 years since we didn't have a total victory, and I kind of want a really long stretch like we had from Sasuke 4 to 17 with no winners, just because that was my favorite era of Sasuke overall. And I think it was helped by the fact that the course just kept getting harder and people kept getting closer, but there was, and back then they had a bigger budget to throw at new obstacles every tournament. Like you'd almost always have a new starting obstacle in stage 1. You'd almost always have a couple throughout each stage, for the most part. And that's just not possible right now. And I think right now the new producer, well, he's not new anymore, but this producer is more focused on other stuff than obstacle variety, which is a shame to me. But I think he's gonna make it interesting next time, because he needs to, especially the later stages to fend off any more wins for a while, I think. But I think, I think it's going to be interesting probably next December, but we'll eventually get to see it and see what they come up with. So I'm kind of transitioning into my overall thoughts now that we're through all the runs. It was a pretty good tournament. We had a winner, which is you can't have a bad tournament with a winner, I don't think. Usually. And it was just a good, it lacked in new obstacles as we've come to expect, but it had a few new things thanks to the rain issues last time, and it's had some good results. And it was, having Nagano and Yamada come back was a cool touch. I expected Yamato might come back at some point, but having Nagano back was like awesome. My favorite competitor coming back. There were some trade-offs because of them not allowing foreign competitors this year. We didn't get to see Jessie Graff compete, and I think she could have definitely made it to stage 3 and probably gone far into the cliffhanger, which would have been really cool. But it can't really be helped, at least with the policies they have right now. So it is what it is. She's really the only international competitor that I'm personally missing out on now because Drew isn't coming, thankfully. And Jamie Ron, I feel like, if he were to come back, he also got messed up on this thing, but they could always invite them back later on, I guess. I still want Jeff Brand to get an attempt at this, so maybe he'll be next on the list, especially since they need a replacement now. And hopefully they'll open it back up to foreign competitors again, because that's a cool touch, I think, to have that. But yeah, they had an interesting lineup of people, and I know I'm not good with the names and stuff, but I really do. The competitors I know the names of, I like a lot. It's good to see them back and competing. And yeah, it was a really cool tournament to watch, I think. So just to outline my obstacle suggestions for next time, I would replace the quad steps with something, even if it's a returning obstacle from previous competitions, I would just change that up, because we see everyone do that obstacle. Everyone gets to attempt the obstacle because it's first, and it's just a pretty simple obstacle to have at this point, so I think that can go. I like most of the first stage. Maybe replace the tackle with a different kind of strength training obstacle. I don't know, maybe a weight carry, or maybe some kind of swimming thing. I know swimming obstacles are controversial, and I don't love the backstream, but it could be interesting, I think. So something like that, where you don't get eliminated for falling, but you just lose time for the warp wall. Yeah, so that's my stage 1 idea. Stage 2, I still want it to be remodeled. The rolling log helps with that, but I think we need a new salmon ladder. New salmon ladder. Maybe a spider section replacement, because the spider walk is really old now, and the spider drop is cool, but it doesn't do much. So maybe something completely new there. We could use one full new idea. And yeah, maybe take the reverse conveyor out and replace it with something, but I'm okay with it there. It's a traditional end, so I'm okay with it. For stage 3, as I said before, move the flying bar to the end, have something new up front, or even bring back the roulette cylinder, because I like the obstacle. It's really tough, and it's a good way to make the later obstacles harder, like the cliffhanger, the vertical limit. So yeah, I would say that. Maybe replace the sidewinder, but I'm okay with it. Planet Bridge is cool. I guess a new cliffhanger variation. I would kind of like if they move away from the big crazy jumps, I guess, is it? They call it crazy jumps, to some other kind of twist to the obstacle. I don't know what that would be exactly. Maybe more focused on having thinner ledges. I know it's probably cooler to have the big jumps, but I just want something different on that part. But I don't dislike it anyway. It's still a good obstacle. The vertical limit is good. I think it doesn't need to be made much harder. I think it's fine. And yeah, I'd have the flying bar at the end of that course. And the final stage, I don't know how I'd upgrade it, but probably keep the rope climb and add one or two things underneath it, and put a strict time limit, and that would be my lineup of obstacles for Sasuke Theory 9. that was like a rough idea. There's not much, but that's why we replace. And if someone made it to this part of the video, thank you for watching it. I know it was really long, but I hope I did a decent job of recapping the tournament. It's been a while, but I tried my best, and I wanted to try a review like this because I like Sasuke a lot, and I don't really represent it on my channel, so this is my attempt at that. And stay tuned for more videos, training videos, maybe an update on American Ninja Warrior because that's coming up, stuff like that. I'm gonna do a competition soon, so yeah, there's some stuff coming up too, and I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.